welcome to my art channel. Thanks for stopping by to make some art with me. For more free art lessons, you could press the button below and subscribe right there on that red button. And I will see you really soon. Now let's get to making some art. Bye-bye. Hey guys, welcome to Mixed Media. My name is Carrie, and today I'm going to show you how to make African beads out of Model Magic. So let's get to our materials. The first thing that you're going to need is some cord. This is hemp cord, and you're going to need about 3 or 4 feet of it. You're going to need either some coffee stirrers or some Q-tips, and you're just going to cut the tips off. You'll need some watercolor paints and a paintbrush, and also some water. A couple strips of oak tag so we can dry the beads on. Of course, you're going to need your Model Magic, and I think we're ready to get started. So we are going to make about 9 beads. So you're going to take your Model Magic and you're going to roll it into a ball like this. And that's your first bead. And you're going to make 6 round beads, because we're going to end up making this necklace. So you want them all to be the same size. And when you make the beads, when you work with Model Magic, the cool thing about this is it dries in about a day or so, and it stays really lightweight. It's very easy to get a nice smooth surface if you just roll it in your hand, and then you could actually just smooth right over any creases, and you can reshape it real easy just by rolling it. Okay, so I have 2 beads. I'm just using a small piece, and I'm rolling it within 2 of my hands. You can try rolling it on the table if that's easier for you. Okay, I have my 6 round beads. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them on my coffee stirrer, or you can put them on your Q-tip. If you're using Q-tips, you're going to have to cut those edges off. So you just have the middle of the Q-tips. And what I'm going to do, and the reason I'm putting them on the coffee stirrer is because, one, I need to put holes in them so eventually I could string them, right? So when I put the bead on the coffee stirrer, I'm just going to wiggle it around a little bit so I make sure I get a decent size hole. And your bead might get a little misshapen. You can just roll it gently. Okay, and we're going to just do that to all of them. You see how it got a little mush there. I'm just going to kind of roll it back up a little bit. But it's really important to make sure that you get a nice size hole that you'll be able to fit your cord through. And I'm only going to put 2 beads or so on each stick, because it makes it easier when I go to paint it. So they're not necessarily round like balls anymore. They're a little flatter, but that's fine. Okay, so once you have your 6 beads taken care of, we're going to make 2 cylinder beads. These are the longer beads. So a cylinder is round. This is probably a little too big. We're going to make them about 1 inch long. So if you have a ruler and you want to measure it, you can do that. Okay. So I'm rolling it like a little bit like a snake, and then I'm going to flatten each edge just by tapping it on the table. So it looks like that. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put it on a toothpick or a coffee stirrer or a Q-tip, something that's going to give me that hole in the middle. And this one I have to twist to get it through because I don't want to ruin the shape. And I'm just going to wiggle it around in there, and I'm actually going to pull it off gently and push it back on and just wiggle the other side around. So I have that nice cylinder shape and I have my round shapes. Oops, like that. And we're going to make 2 cylinders. So here's one and the other. And notice how I start. I'm doing the same thing. I'm starting by making it into a ball, because that really helps smooth out the clay also. And then I'm going to roll it into like a little bit of a snake. And I'm going to measure that. That's a little bit big, but that's all right for now. And I'm going to tap it on both ends just to flatten the ends. So now I have my 2 cylinders and my 6 round beads. Okay, so the best thing to do now after you make your beads is honestly to let them dry between 24 to 72 hours, so at least overnight, because then the beads become a little firmer. And I made these yesterday and they're dry, so I'm going to work with these. Although, because we're using watercolor paint and because of the nature of the Model Magic, you can actually paint on the beads when they're still wet. I mean, they haven't hardened yet. The only thing is you're more likely to misshapen the beads. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to paint your beads. The African beads come in a wild array of colors, beautiful colors, bright colors. You know, reds and greens and yellows and blues, really nice and bright. And then they have designs on them. So the way we're going to do this is the first thing we're going to paint is the background color. We're going to make 3 tube beads. I've only made 2, but for our necklace, we're going to make 3 of them, 3. Okay, so what I did was I separated my beads out, and I'm going to take out my watercolor paints, and I'm going to start with some background colors. Now, because we're painting with watercolors, you want to start painting with your lighter colors instead of a darker color. So instead of starting with, say, a dark blue, you're better off starting with a light blue, because you could put more colors on top of a light blue and you'll be able to see them with the watercolor paints. So I'm going to start with these little round beads, and it is a little tricky to paint them because they do move. So it's good to have a paper towel handy because it's going to get on your fingers. So I'm just going to paint the bead just like that. Now again, the best thing to do is to let these watercolors dry before you paint your designs on them. And they dry pretty quickly, like within the hour they'll be dry. I'm going to put this down here for a minute and show you something that I did. I took my couple pieces of this oak tag and I bent it in a way that it makes like a little line in there. It's almost like a book cover, right? So if you bend it and then leave a space and then bend it over here, you get something that looks like this. And the beauty of this is, instead of putting my beads down on this paper here, which picks up the paint off of the bead, I can hang it right there so they can dry, just like that, without anything touching them. So that's why you need the oak tag. and I could probably get another one on there. So again, I'm just going to show you with the oak tag. You're just going to fold one side in, and then you're going to leave like a 2 finger space here and fold the other side. So when you open it up, you can make it look like a book cover. See that? Now I'm going to get back to painting my other beads. And I'm going to be working a little bit fast, but you don't have to work this fast. You can certainly take your time. But I'm going to just try and get it done for you for the sake of time. And at any time you feel like, if you're following along with me, if I'm going too fast, you can just stop the video and catch up. So now I'm on to my cylinder beads. And again, we're making 3 of them. Even though I only made 2 of them before, we are making 3 of them. Some of the beads in the African bead, you'll notice, are very earthy tones. Okay, so I'm going to put this over here to dry. So we have all our beads painted, and now I need to let those beads dry. And while they're drying, I'm going to think about how I want to paint them. And here I have, these are actual African trade beads that I have on my bracelets, and you can see that we have some pretty yellows, and you can see some interesting designs with dots and lines. We have some crosses, lots of interesting patterns. This one has some flowers on it, so lots of different possibilities. So what I'm going to do, let's see if I think I could start with these blue. They're not completely dry, and I would say that you should wait at least an hour for your beads to dry, but I'm going to give it a try anyway. Okay, so I painted some stripes on there, and I think I'm going to add some dots with a darker color. Like maybe this bluish green over here. And I'm just going to add some dots. You can see that. And they're coming out really pretty. And now I'm just going to put them back and let them dry. I'm going to take my next beads and I'm going to do a little bit different design. I'm going to do some diagonal lines across these beads, and I really like that. That has nice bright contrast. See, looking at my bracelets here, that there are some with some little flowers, and the flowers are made just by making dots, really. And I'm going to try and make some flowers. So I made my little flowers, and I'm just going to put another color in the middle of them. Just like that. And I'm going to let it dry a little bit before I do this, the back side of it. So now I can go to my cylinder beads, and I'm just going to make some long horizontal lines on that teal one, just like that. The orange one, I think I'm going to press in with my brush to make these big dots. And there's the orange one. I'm doing all very simple designs on these, but once you put it together, it's going to look really interesting. Okay, I have one more bead. I have this orange bead, and I think I'm going to go for some bright green. And I think I'm going to do some X's on this. And now I really need to let this dry. So while that's drying, I'm going to set up my cord. To make this necklace, you need 3 pieces of cord. One that's about 36 inches long, so you can put it around your neck just by pulling it over your head. And then you're going to need 2 pieces that are 8 inches long. So I'm going to take a ruler and measure 36 inches. So that's going to be my first cord. And then 2 8-inch cords. Okay, so I took a few minutes to dry my beads, and I actually used a hair dryer to speed up the process. And when the beads were finished, I went over them a little bit to get some finer details with some permanent markers. So you can try, if you have some permanent markers, to make some more detailed lines. I don't know if you could see those little red lines in there. Just give some of those finer details. So here I have pretty much all of my beads, and they're dried and ready to be strung. So I'm just going to clean this area off. Move this out of the way. We've already cut our string. So I'm going to take these 2 8-inch pieces of string and I'm just going to put them aside. This is actually hemp cord, which is a nice strong cord for making jewelry. So the way we're going to do this necklace is we're going to put 3 cylinder beads on it, and on either end we're going to put 2 round beads, 1 round bead on either end. So you just have to decide which bead you want in the center and which you want on the side, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to pull them gently off, even though they're dry. The beads are dry. If you didn't wait for your beads to dry, when you pull them off, you could pull the shape out, so be super careful if you didn't want to wait for them to dry. So here we go. I'm just going to pull them off and get rid of this. And I'm going to try and figure out what I want to do here. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this teal color bead in the middle. So I'm going to put that on first. And I'm just going to bead it right onto the cord. And then I'm going to grab my 2 ends of the cord and just find that middle place like that. Okay. So our next step, before we put on the other 2 beads, the other 2 cylinders, is we're going to make these hanging parts, and they're a little bit tricky. So what you're going to do is you're going to take that 8-inch string, 8-inch cord, and you're going to fold it in half, like this. And then you're going to put it right next to one of the sides of the beads, okay? And you're going to put the loop underneath the bead. I'm sorry, you're going to put the loop underneath the cord, the main cord, okay? I'm going to hold the loop. You see the cord, the main cord is in there. And I'm going to take that bottom, the 2 ends, and I'm going to pull it through that loop. And I'm going to pull it this way, and you'll see that it's attached to my string. Now I'm trying not to pull this up because I want everything to remain in the center, or as close to the center as possible. So I'm going to pull that as tight as possible, and then it's actually going to give me this fringe here, right there. So on here I'm going to bead 2 beads. And I'm going to mix up my beads. So I think I'm going to do, maybe I'll do these 2 and I'll do these at the edge. So I'm going to take, on that 8-inch string that we folded in half and we knotted it, I'm going to bead 2 round beads. So I beaded the 2 round beads, and they're going to hang down. To keep them from falling off your string, you're going to have to knot the bottom a good 3-4 times. And that looks pretty good. So I'm going to hold it up and show it to you again. So this is what we have so far. Okay, and now what we did on this side, we're going to do on the other side of that main bead. So I'm going to take my other 8-inch piece of cord, I'm going to fold it in half, right? And this loop part is going to go underneath the main cord right next to this bead. I'm going to grab that loop, I'm going to take the two little ends and I'm going to pull it through and tighten it up. And make sure when you tighten it up, it's close to that middle bead. Okay, so you can see that there. And I'm going now to put my beads, my 2 round beads on here, on those double strings. And then I'm going to give it a bunch of knots to make sure those beads don't fall out of there. Okay, great. So you can see right now how they're hanging down, just like this one is hanging down. And you can keep these long or short, however you want them, but we'll worry about that in a minute. But right now, I'm going to finish putting on my beads. So I'm going to put on my 2 cylinder beads next, one on either side. And on each of those cylinder beads, I'm going to put a round bead. And then I'm going to grab my 2 ends here, and I'm going to balance my necklace, because sometimes it gets a little bit off. So you want to balance your necklace so everything falls evenly, and pinch it at the top and put a knot. But notice, see, it was a little uneven to balance it. That makes the string uneven, and that's okay. What's more important is that your necklace is balanced. A knot right at the top. And there you have your African tree beads made out of Model Magic. Let's see how they look. They're totally cool. I hope you enjoyed making your Model Magic African beads, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.